There are so many clients that come to me and say to me, I don't understand recovery and I am not a 12-step person because that's a religious program and I can't get behind any spirituality whatsoever. And if I mention the God word, everybody's thrown into a tizzy. If I mention spirituality, all they think of is it doesn't apply to me. And the opposite end is sometimes people don't see beyond the spirituality to the science of spirituality. And that's why I have an expert today. We're going to take a look at the inner vibration of spiritual science and how it blends with recovery and produces real change. So, my expert today is a very wonderful person, and I think she's going to become a really good friend of mine. Her name is Kathryn Richer, and she is a licensed spiritual practitioner with the Centers for Spiritual Living. She's trained in ethical spiritual counseling and a powerful method called spiritual mind treatment. So, I can't wait to hear all about that. Okay. Kathryn also, and the most amazing thing is that Kathryn is also a host on the Transformation Network. So I want you to go right to Kathryn's podcast and put it down as a favorite, just like you put down the Pushy Broads favorite and as your podcast favorites, because Kathryn's podcast is called Richer Within, Activate Your Inner Wealth of Wisdom. Wow. And it airs on the Transformation Network every third Monday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. The Pushy Broad from the Bronx is delighted to welcome my guest, Kathryn Richer. How are you this morning?
Thank you, Ellen, for the beautiful invitation. And I couldn't be happier than to be here right now. So thank you for the invitation.
I'm really thrilled. We talked a little bit, and we've been talking over time since we met a very short time ago. And what struck me is that you have a personal recovery message that ties in with spirituality. And you explained that you would be kind enough to share it with us on the air. So let's just talk a little bit about your personal recovery journey that led you to be spiritual and, of course, led you to Richer Within.
I would actually say that it was Richer Within that led me to it,
Okay.
because Richer Within is really about listening to our inner guidance. And we all have it in many forms. And I had dreams about alcohol inhibiting my future. I knew it in my body. I knew it in the way of I felt that when I had alcohol in me, I was veiled. There was a veil between me and what I consider to be the energy and the essence of life and my ability to express that. And after many years of recreational verging on alcohol abuse, it became more and more clear to me that that was not in alignment with my spiritual path or my spiritual work and work with people. And one morning was my last hangover, and I woke up and I said, that's it. I am done. I release this. I give it up. And from that day on, it was effortless.
So you decided that your at your core, there was a stronger spirituality that was taking place. And having this personal journey was really, really difficult because I also struggled with alcohol as well. And in order to make a decision to stop, I didn't wake up one morning and say, I'm done. Okay. I had to go find people in the support situation. So it's really amazing to me that you all of a sudden decided, I'm finished. Was there some kind of spiritual intervention in your life? What was the point that you said, I'm done, and never once decided to go back?
One day in the shower, because I was realizing I was trying to minimize alcohol intake. I spent so much real estate tracking how much I drank and hangovers And finally, one day in the shower, I literally said out loud, if this is not meant for me, please take it from me. I have goosebumps remembering that moment. And it was not long after that. I was also headed for Agape International Spiritual Center when they reopened after COVID shut down. And Reverend Michael Beckwith is one of my favorite spiritual teachers. And I, I wanted to be just crystal clear. And I was going the next day. I was at a wedding when I woke up and said, that's it, I am done. And there was booze everywhere the whole weekend, the reception, the wedding, the dinner parties, the la la la. And I was just like, what you got that's NA? No problem. I wasn't even tempted, not a drop. And so I am also very, very grateful. I will also say that one of the things that I did use were some uh, hypnotic, how would you say it?
Influences?
Well, yes, when I went to sleep, there's the underlying message to the music. And I used those for a while because I really had no idea how it was going to go.
Okay, you're talking about what we used to call, or maybe still call, neurolinguistic programming. Okay, neurolinguistic programming is the message behind the message, and that is kind of hypnotic, with music over it. Okay, so there's a couple of things you said that I can certainly relate to. First of all, I used to quote Prince and say I was always in a purple haze. So for me, it wasn't so much the alcohol, but it certainly was the marijuana. Okay, biggest pothead on the planet, or at least on the East Coast. Okay, for sure. And and so I always felt that I was in this purple haze. And then you came to this kind of almost like message, and you say something on your website about you went from uncertainty to clarity. Okay, you got out of the fog, right? From fear to expectancy. Can you tell us what that means to you, those words?
I lived in a lot of fear that I wasn't aware of until afterwards of, gosh, what happens if a client calls at 9 o'clock at night and I've had 3 glasses of wine? What happens if, oh, I can't drive now? Or, gosh, I have had 1 glass of wine and I am going to drive. Is that going to be okay? There was a lot of fear around those types of things and what would happen as a result. And then that was gone. And that's called freedom, right? That is freedom. No longer have to pay Uber drivers either. So it's easy on the wallet.
Right, exactly. And I'm sure, yes. And you had Uber at that time. And also, we're in the throes of COVID. So I had talked many, many times on my show about the fact that during COVID, people were isolating, which made it especially difficult because people were eating more, people were drinking more, people were doing drugs. The whole idea of concierge service, right? The groceries came to the door, toilet paper came to the door, alcohol came to the door. So you certainly could have done that in isolation. So it took a very strong sense. And for you, it was a spiritual sense to be able to stand strong. Okay, so now let's talk about your passion a little bit. Let's talk about what you mean about the science of spiritual practice. Tell us how you feel about spirituality and how it's such a great movement in your life. Does that mean religion? Does that mean God? I know, we want to know personally how it's affecting you.
I have always had a sense of something greater than myself, and yet was me at the same time, a relationship, right? I grew up Episcopalian, and then I became Episcopalian, and then I did goddess circles, I, and then I found science of mind, which resonated with me because it's a philosophy and it's a way of life that is about how thoughts literally become things. And there's a lot more to that. That's the simple part. And that we take full control, not control. I take full responsibility of my life. And I've also practiced yoga for decades. And my spiritual practitioner training, a big component of that was something that I struggled with was sit your butt down and meditate. sit in the silence because I'm very active. And I love learning and I love being active and I'm outdoors and I'm playing and to sit down was really a game changer because that's when I came more deeply in touch with my inner wisdom and my inner voice, which had always been there. It's just more easily accessible for me in the silent moments and when I calm myself. And so the science that's connected with that is related to the nervous system. And the meditation is calming to the nervous system.
There are so many things that you said, and I'm going to try to unpack some of them because what happens is, and what mirrors 12-step recovery in many ways, and those of us that are tried and true 12-steppers, or at least going through addiction and going through treatment and coming out of treatment, understand a couple of very basic things. Number one, in 12-step recovery, we talk about letting go, letting God, meaning that we don't have to control everything. We don't have to manipulate everything. But still, like what you were saying, we have now learned we can be the one driving our car. We can be in the driver's seat now. We don't have to be in the back seat, literally passed out and in a fog. We can take charge of our lives, be in the front, and start that movement, which is extremely important.
Mhm.
We also understand that the spirituality, when you said you had it in you, it was separate from you and together with you. In 12-step recovery, we say a power greater than ourselves helps us restore ourselves to sanity, meaning we do not do this alone. We are not alone. Okay. And the other thing in treatment, we understand that addiction is a disease that involves the mind, body, and spirit. It's not just one thing,
Yeah.
right? It's everything. So, talk to us a little bit about the fact that somebody, because I get it all the time, so I want to hear what they say to you, somebody that says to you, spirituality is okay, but it's not all that powerful and it's not all that great. And I don't think I'm that person. How do you answer that person? What do you say personally to make them change their mind?
Well, I have a question, and that would be, what do you do? What have you ever done when you've been in the most trouble that you've ever been in, and like you thought you might lose your life? Or something amazing happens, or something shocking happens. What's the first three words that people say?
Thank
Oh
God.
my God,
Oh my God, thank God. Right.
right? And so, in essence, to me, it is what is it that anchors you? And in that anchoring place, no one can ever, ever, ever take away. No one can. There is a place within everyone, which is that inner wealth that I speak about. Wealth is that it's like spiritual currency. It's the literal vibration, the energy that is indestructible that you came from. We're never alone now, never ever will be. That is our origin. And that can never, ever be taken away. And that's the power of it, is no one can take it away. It's we who forget. We forget.
We naturally do because we live in what we consider to be the real world, but basically that's also open to interpretation. And also, we don't understand that even if we don't want to use the word God or we don't want to talk about it in that way, the spirituality in some of my clients is the universe has a flow. I really do believe that the universe has a flow, right? In every sense of the word. And if you go with the movement of the universe, you know it. Because
Mhm.
in your everyday life, if you try to manipulate the direction that you know you shouldn't be going, it's like all of a sudden you have to swim upstream when you can easily just go with the current. And everything in your life tells you not to, but you still think you need to. And the results are negative, then you understand that there is a movement, a flow that is operating beyond you. And that beyond you, for that moment, you could call spirituality because that's what it is. It is all encompassing and it's very much a part of you. So, talk to us a little bit about the kind of work that you do and the kind of clients that you see and you help.
Hmm. I love working with people because there's just this always this moment where people have I like to call them epiphanies, where I guide people one-on-one through very simple sessions. You don't have to bring anything, come prepared. We don't talk for hours first. There's no long intake. It's where you are, who you are right here and right now. And I lead in with a calming practice to regulate our nervous systems together, and then learn and listen really deeply for words that indicate a person's state of consciousness and where they might be blocking their own good. And then offer them simple practices, everyday practices, just like you're talking about, Ellen, where notice during the day you're feeling contracted and ask your body, what is this? Take a moment and take a breath. We don't have to intellectualize it even. We can simply let it go in the moment. Traffic is a great example of that. And so, and then it closes with a spiritual mind treatment, which is basically affirmative prayer that I'm specifically trained into. And that is a science and an art unto itself. I also work in group settings. I've led a lot of women's spiritual retreats. I'm a speaker, and also supporting spiritual leaders and people doing conferences and offering workshops because they need support too, as well as people that go to their events and in a place of high watch. So I'm not in all of the details, but in that place of upholding and up leveling that sacred container of consciousness at a broad level. Yeah, it's so
And
much
where,
fun.
where can people find you? And can you work with people all over the country, all over the world? Tell us about that.
I can work with anybody anywhere because we can meet on Zoom. That's great. That was a Corona bonus that came out of COVID, right? Is that we can meet this way. And so anywhere around the world, as long as I get your time zone right. And I also work with people live in person. I love doing that. If I'm in your town or you want me to come to your town, I live in Portland, Oregon. So, and I work with a variety of clients. I work with performing artists. I am a performing artist, so I know what it's like when my creativity is blocked. And I work with a lot of people in different parts of journeys. Because you know what? It works for everyone, and you don't have to have a specific belief. You can be agnostic. You can be unsure because there is a science to it. And that's why this philosophy is called science of mind. There's a science to it. And we can use that because guess what? It's always at work. So why not use it for our good?
So let's go back a little bit to the science of this and let's see how it applies to addiction. All right. So if we're doing this and we're doing this practice, let's talk a little bit how it helps to decrease addictive patterns. So talk about how it helped you and what kind of patterns you were able to smooth out and go past.
One of the things, Ellen, I realized for myself was I was using substance, alcohol, instead of true substance, which is the true source, spirit, the universal, the divine, call it what you will. And recognizing using it when I felt stressed or felt insecure or felt whatever. And then I realized, no, my substance is not in this glass of wine. My substance is my substance and that which I came from. And so that's the power place, right? We're not dependent on an external something, whatever kind of addiction that is. So I understand that's easy to say, right? Because addiction is it's a path. And so the scientific part is how breath work can regulate the nervous system, because often when we are using substance, we're just covering up something that's hard to deal with, right? We're humans in divine form, divine human, however you want to say that. We do have this walk. And so we're often in a high stress mindset, body set, the whole mind, body, mind, the whole thing's connected. And simple breath work practices, as simple as humming, can help regulate the nervous system. And when you are regulated, when I am regulated, I'll speak for myself, I'm less inclined to reach for something outside of myself to take care of my inner being or my physical self, or, the connection, the package of who I am. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does make sense. And in concretely, again, I'm interpreting it the way my clients would want me to interpret it, understanding that doing behavior modification techniques and their spirituality in the breath work, in the understanding that we talk to ourselves. I always tell my clients to get out of the play, put yourself in the audience, and ask yourself the big questions in therapy. Awareness. What am I doing and why am I doing it? Verbalize it, which I know, you talk out loud, you meditate, all of those things, and then to process it and let it go, and then the move forward steps. So there are 4 steps to this process at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it means we have to work harder at it, right? Because science tells us that cravings may come every 30 seconds, but only last for about 30 seconds. So
Yeah.
what we try to do is understand that the physicality of what we do helps the mental pressure of what we need to get rid of. So by saying the breath work and doing all kinds of other things, we move towards clarity, we move towards help, we move towards the ability to not spin in circles, not to feel immobilized, not to feel paralyzed, and to what every recovering addict wants, and that's to be high on life rather than
Yes.
be high on mood altering substances,
Yes, yes,
correct?
yes, absolutely. May I say one more thing about the mind? The power of the mind is understated. And affirmations, simple, out loud affirmations, repeatedly, literally change our neural pathways. So the more that one is able to catch oneself in a pattern of negative thinking, self-criticism, catch it, kind of like a pancake that starts to burn on the stove, you got to flip it, right, to its opposite, if you can get there, right? Sometimes you just take the pancake off and just chill. Like the feelings, like you said, 30 seconds, they disappear. And so anytime that I am able to catch myself and say, okay, I know who I am. I know what I'm here for. I am more than worthy. I am brilliant. I am magnificent. I am unique. I am here on purpose. I am courageous. And I always, always have my inner being as my first source. Over and over and over and over. Then it becomes more natural that those are the things you think, because our brains are very malleable. And
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And this is if you take a look and you see what we're talking about and you listen to some of the things that are even streaming, the neuroscience of changing your brain, having the ability to rewire for positive. I tell my clients that at every single moment we're feeling down and we're feeling negative, we can choose to put positivity and positive thoughts, positive affirmations, positive gratitude. Positivity really does change it, not only by thinking it, but absolutely saying it out loud so that we're hearing ourselves say it and we're also saying it to the universe and talking out loud in that way. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. Talk to me a little bit more about wow and exactly how someone can incorporate that in their lives.
So WOW is an acronym to me that is the wealth of wisdom. And that's what I'm talking about, our inner wealth, that currency that we all have within us. And it is unique to us. And it is things like feelings, like we've been talking about, emotions. Think of those as wisdom, because they are really there are little antennas to help us know where we are and where we might choose to go. Intuition, We have the body wisdom. Many of us have dreams. I have had prophetic dreams. I can't even begin to tell you the dreams that I've had, including dreams about alcohol, including someone was going to deliver a very special package for me for an opportunity, but I knew that they couldn't because I was still drinking. I dreamed that. Anyway, and then the meditation is a gateway as well. And so it's really individual, and yet it's accessible to everyone because you are you and I am me. We each have our special treasures, our special gifts. Some people have a deeply gifted in compassion. I mean, you don't have to be a superstar. We're all stars. We come from the stars, literally. We're born of the stars. And we're individualized. And so some people are extremely intelligent in science. Some people are extremely intelligent in deciphering animal sounds. Or we each have these talents, and these are our special gifts to hone within ourselves and share with the world, right? Because none of this is just about us.
You're absolutely right. And that really encompasses a whole wealth of wisdom and spirituality combined. And if you want to know more about all of this, I need you to tune in to the Transformation Network, and I need you to listen to Richer Within with Kathryn. Activate your inner wealth of wisdom, which I think is the wow factor. Kathryn, I cannot thank you enough for being with us today and sharing what we say in the rooms is your experience, strength, and hope. I am so delighted to have you. Please come back and visit us anytime. This is the Pushy Broad from the Bronx saying thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
She's the pushy broad from the Bronx, New York. Follow her voice, a straight dog is high. She's the pushy broad from the Bronx, oh yeah. Don't be surprised if you wanna listen twice. Make decisions, find the right choice. Know yourself better, find your own voice. It's okay if you need help today, cause everybody needs a little push. From the pushy broad from the Bronx, New